With us now is Dr. Randeep Guleria, the director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences and one of the first Indians to get the vaccine already. Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. I want to ask about the rollout strategy after healthcare workers. There's the Israeli model, then there's the Indonesian model, which prioritizes young, healthy, but working age people. Who in India will get priority after the healthcare workers?
So the Indian priority is the healthcare workers, followed by the frontline workers, and then it is followed by the high-risk group, that is individuals over the age of 50. We will have two brackets. One is over the age of 60 and then over the age of 50. Most of the individuals with comorbidities, almost 70 to 80%, will also be covered if we cover people over the age of 50. So that is the third group that will get covered. And then after that, we will cover individuals less than 50, but having comorbidities, which could be diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, cancers, or other chronic disabilities. So that is the priority list that the government has created. And a plan is in place to sort of start working on vaccinating these priorities one by one.
How long of a process will this be? I mean, to vaccinate the world's biggest democracy, Israel, is a small country. We're getting it done within weeks, but India is so massive. How long will it take?
That's true. Even if you look at the first phase, that is the frontline workers, the healthcare workers, and those over the age of 50, we are looking at 300 million people. And that means we will need 600 million doses because the vaccine has 2 doses which is to be given. The process of rolling it out in terms of giving it to individuals is already there. We have a capacity our capacity is there to ramp up our centers and give the vaccine. I think the rate limiting step will be the number of doses available. And we are hoping that in the next few months, many other vaccines will come into the Indian market because many of them in India are undergoing phase 3 trials. We have the Russian vaccine also, which is undergoing phase 3 trial, and another DNA vaccine being made by an Indian company, Zydus Cadila, is also in phase 3 trial. So we're hopeful that by March, we will have almost 4 or 5 or maybe more companies being able to provide vaccines on different platforms to the Indian government, and we will have sufficient supply to be able to vaccinate the huge number that we need to do.
Doctor, as you mentioned, there are so many more vaccines coming to market. India has its own vaccine as well. Because of this campaign, hundreds of millions of people, will people will get the first shot with one type of vaccine and perhaps need the second dose with a different company's vaccine?
Currently, we are not doing that because the data is not strong enough to say that you can mix and match the vaccines from one company to the other. Some countries have looked at that, but I think the current policy that the government has is that we continue with giving the same dose of the same company that we given the first time, because of whatever data that is available has used the same batch or the same vaccine as the initial vaccine and as the subsequent booster dose.
Talk to me about the efficacy of the Indian vaccine and also about the cold storage needs. Is it similar or different when we compare it to, let's say, Pfizer?
So I think when India looked at its vaccine strategy, they looked at 4 broad points. One was the safety of the vaccines, and that was the paramount or the most important thing, and that was looked at by studies done in experimental animals in phase 1, phase 2, and in phase 3 trial. Some of the studies have not completed phase 3 trial, but the safety signals in the study in which more than 25,000 Indians were vaccinated were very good. Then the second part is to look at the efficacy. There is good efficacy data from phase 1 and phase 2 trial, and one of the vaccine by the Serum Institute of India is the same as the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which has good safety data from other countries also. The third point was how feasible is it to give the vaccine in a country like India. And here the 2 vaccines and the others which are coming need to be stored at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade, which is like a common fridge. Yeah. And therefore maintaining the cold chain was much more easier and practical in a country like India, where you have to really provide vaccine not only to the urban part, but into remote rural areas of the country also. And therefore the vaccine program would be more useful if we had a vaccine which was 2 to 8 degrees centigrade rather than minus 70 as the Pfizer vaccine.
Yeah,
We
regular
already have a very
vaccine.
robust, what we call UIP, Universal Immunization Program for children and pregnant women. So using that as the backbone, one was able to upscale this for vaccination for adults. And the final point was the cost of the vaccine. The vaccines in India that are coming out are only $2 to $3 as compared to the cost of the Pfizer vaccine. So these 4 points actually are the important ones which were considered and which have really made the vaccine, which I personally feel are not only going to be useful for India, but for many countries in the world.
Yeah.